Wow. What are your thoughts then on now you have a lot of homosexual material being promoted in the school system
Absolutely.
to very young kids? What are your thoughts on that?
Well, that's why I want to take it into the courtroom and get this material, presented to juries so they can start ruling on the lies that are being perpetrated to our children and making people pay for it. You need a couple of good, solid tobacco-like lawsuits where those who are promoting this material, that is Planned Parenthood, SICAS, and some of the teachers, some of the administrators, you get them into a situation, and some of Big Pharma, depending, where they are able to prosecute properly with real knowledgeable lawyers. So far we haven't found them too often. You get that into a courtroom and you end your problem. People start paying through the nose millions of dollars. The next thing you know, they clean up their act.
Did I hear you correctly that Planned Parenthood is one of the organizations that's pushing the homosexual content in schools?
Oh, sure. Of course you did.
Wow.
Well, they've been pushing promiscuity and homosexuality for a long time. Of course they have. As a matter of fact, I got involved in this whole sexology field when Shaker Heights High School was distributing to its high school students a pamphlet that they produced, Planned Parenthood, called You've Changed the Combination, in which they were telling children way back in 1974 it was, to have sex with your friends. Now, see, here's a lawsuit just waiting to happen. Have sex with your friends. If she's been stoned, ask. If she's too young, ask, but doesn't say don't have sex with her. And they go on and they give all these other bizarre things, and that your parents have tried to force you into heterosexuality, because they're afraid of you being homosexual, so they want you to look at, to fool around with girls. Yeah. And then they end up by saying, if you want a virgin to marry, buy one. I'm quoting this. There are women who have freely chosen that business. Marriage is the price you'll pay, and you get the virgin very temporarily. I submit to you that this, end quote. I submit to you that these are major lawsuits just waiting to happen for all the people who've gotten STDs, who've had abortions, who have lost their husbands, lost their wives, who have had their lives destroyed by Planned Parenthood and SICA, Sex Information Education Council of the United States, by all these lies that have been promoted in their classrooms. Oh, my. Just a great bunch of lawsuits waiting to happen. Anybody wants to do that and they know a good lawyer, I'm on your side.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
We had quite a few folks dialed in. Are you acceptable taking a few questions?
A few. It's getting late, but I'm ready.
Okay. Person, I don't know what the name is, Rondo. You have a hand up. I don't know if you're on your Skype or what have you, but if you have a question, sir, your line is open.
Hi.
Good evening.
Hello.
I'd like to know, would you agree or disagree that some of the most racist and sexist people on the planet are white homosexuals?
Let's see. Oh, well, yeah, I suppose so. Yeah, we could say that. Let's see. White homosexuals have a strong discriminatory policy against blacks in general. At least they used to. They may have backed off a little bit recently, but yeah, I suppose. But it's certainly not confined to them. Is that hi?
Yeah, and I also want to know, since the classical European societies, such as Rome and Greece, were dominated by men who had sex with little boys.
Right, yeah.
What is the disconnect? Why would you say that this is not a Western pathology that's just morphed into a different form? Because I do agree with you that pornography is a gateway media that is used to confuse people at a young age and also have them experiment. And
right.
But I'd like to know your opinion on how the disconnect with Western society. How are you disconnecting how Western society views classical societies, and how those classical societies were essentially pedophilic?
Right. Well, it isn't just Western. I mean, yeah, that's international. Certainly, the Arab communities or Arabic societies, Muslim societies, have had a huge tradition of sexual abuse of boys. So that's been pretty standard. As have a lot of the other animalistic or animus, I've forgotten what you call them, cultures, in which wherever you have a society in which women are denigrated, you will have a high rate of boy abuse. Okay, now the United States of America and in England and some of the other westernized countries have slowly evolved to the point where they kind of began to understand the necessity for raising women to standards. Jesus Christ, I think, was the first one, that actually advocated, that women were human too, just like guys were. And so you had a move to elevate women. And in elevating women, you elevated society. You created a society that would be able to have streets and hospitals, and running water, clean water, electricity, which most of the world doesn't have. Most of the world that doesn't have this stuff also confine women to very low levels within their society. So yeah, and we had to battle in this country. We had the white slave trade here. It hasn't always. I mean, we haven't always had this recognition of the Judeo-Christian belief system that would have put into place consistently the value of women as ennobled. And I'm not saying. And by the way, during the period when women did not have the vote, they certainly still had status to a great extent in this country on different levels. And most people don't realize that the suffrage, that getting the vote, women fought to get the vote because of the high rate of alcohol consumption at that time during the late 1800s, early 1920s. So I don't know if that answers your question, but it's always a battle, and the battle is only won by the society that values the relationship between a woman and man, that places sexual conduct only within a marital structure where women are not cut and circumcised as they are in other cultures, and where that marriage is expected to produce children and the parents are expected to rear those children. And that becomes a society that gives you a civilization that's worthy of the name and that's a pleasant and safe place within which to live. Does that answer what your question was?
Absolutely. I'm going to actually purchase your book because I find I'm of the belief that pornography, we're sold as men that it's just used it's a substitute. But I know from experience that they try to put out they try to put out different information so as to seduce you into other styles of lifestyles.
Mm-hmm.
So
they want to emasculate you.
Right.
They want to emasculate you. That's what the pornography is there to do. Once you are emasculated, you are a victim of their material. You then can't function without their stuff. And that goes on and on and on. Otherwise, if you married some woman who you loved and she loved you, you could begin to actually live a very full life without ever having recourse to any of these expensive indulgences. And that, by the way, the pornography is linked to the alcohol consumption and the drug consumption. Oh, I should mention, there's a reason that Playboy magazine always promoted illicit drugs and always sold illicit alcohol. And that is because it's interrelated with the despair that people feel when they become addicted to the material. Does that sort of, so do buy the book.
It's linked. You can get go to the website. You can click the icon for the book on the program, and you said WND?
Yeah, WorldNet Daily, right.
WorldNet Daily. You can pick it up there as well. Person who called from a blocked number. Did you have a question for Dr. Reisman?
Was that me?
Yes, ma'am.
Hi, I'm enjoying the show a lot. My mouth was to the floor for a lot of it. I know about much of it, particularly in Washington from the Kay Griggs interview. Have you ever had a chance to view that?
No,
Okay, it's Kaye Griggs with 2 G's on the end, and she was married to a man in the military who died and left behind a diary in which where all the homosexual activity in Washington, the pedophilia.
Yes. Oh, yes, that's right.
Yeah, what you were talking about made me think of that. But I just wonder, with it being so pervasive, what on earth can we do to protect children from it? Because they've even had Katy Perry, whose lesbian song, I Kissed a Girl and I Like It, was number one. They had her do a video with Elmo for Sesame Street.
Yeah, it's everywhere. It's everywhere. But, Americans have defeated a lot of enemies in the past. All right, this time it's a real serious domestic enemy. And that's why I keep trying to get people to wake up, smell the coffee, and get into the courtroom. Because there is nothing that is as disastrous as a great lawsuit that costs people millions and millions and millions of dollars for waking the public up and allowing them to understand how they've been lied to. Look, when I started this material, I used to talk about pedophilia, and people thought that meant somebody who liked to ride a bicycle. Pedophilia, right? Right? So there's been a major change in our character. I'm not denying that. We have no choice but to battle it, and let's do it.
Mr. Nero, did you have a question? Mr. Nero, your line should be open, sir.
Hello?
Mr. Nero, did you have a question, or are you just listening?
Mr. Nero. I think Mr. Nero's just listening.
No problem. Non-Mighty Wick, did you have a question? Non-Mighty Wick, your line is open. Do you have a question?
Just listening.
Non-Mighty Wick. Not questioning either.
All righty.
What am I, scaring everybody? Come on, I'm easy. I'm not a problem. As they say, I'm cool. Yeah.
Person who called in, last 4 digits, 2934. 2934. Did you have a question?
Hello?
There's a live one.
Yes, I have a question. What about the lesbianism that's rising in this country as well?
Absolutely. Well, when promiscuity increases massively, everything increases. Now, lesbians generally in the past have really been, for the most part, incest victims. Homosexual males very commonly were not incest as much victims as they were victims of males who came after them, from the age of, say, about 13 on sort of thing, or younger. But 64% actually of our forcible sodomy victims are boys under age 12 now. But lesbians, what has happened now is that lesbian behavior has changed radically from the way it was earlier on in 1950s or 60s or 70s, really. And the lesbians have adopted more and more of the sadomasochistic kind of stuff that our homosexual males are moving into as well. They're heavily into what they call leather, which is sadomasochism, which they torture one another. Unbelievable why you do this sort of thing. Why do you want to suffer? Well, there's the point. They do want to suffer because of the pain that's internal. And so they inflict massive physical pain on one another, and the lesbians are moving into that as well. And one of the big issues here then has to do, of course, with early